Right, so in this video I will try to explain one question that has been asked by a number of farmers, and that is, can you log flock records from different flocks as one record? And the answer is yes, you can combine flock records, but if you do that, you will end up losing some context of your poultry farm. And in this example here, I will explain how that happens. So in our example, we have a farm, and in this farm we have two coops, which means we actually have two layers flocks. Let's even assume that they are of the same age. Yeah. And with poultry records, the three main things we need to keep record of is the stock, so the livestock. So we need to track livability or mortality rate. We need to track egg production, and we also need to keep a record of the sales and the expenses for each. So from the two coops, we can have two separate streams of data. So in coop 1 for the flock, we can have birds, mortality, egg production, and finances. And in coop 2, we can have the same. But if we combine the data so that instead of having two data sets, we only have one, then it means we just have the aggregate of each of these, right? So let's say that in each flock we had 1,000 birds to start with. So that would mean in the combined situation, that would say 2,000. But now here comes the tricky part, right? So if we start looking at mortality, and let's say that in day one, there was 3 birds that died in coop 1, 8 birds died in coop 2. So in this case, if we say, if we combine the records of coop 1 and coop 2, we will say 11 birds have died. But in that, when we do this, we lose the context of where the deaths have happened. And I will explain shortly why that is important to keep in mind. And let's say that indeed in day 2 there was another 9 deaths in this coop, and in day 2 again in coop 2 there was another 9 deaths, and that will say in day 2 there was 18. But now the problem is, for example, in the first day we can see there's a huge difference between the mortality, and then in day 2 in coop 1 we can see it went up by a huge margin, and in this coop it sort of stays, it changed, but not as with a big margin as in coop 1. So now we can know in day 3 that, oh yeah, let's pay attention in this coop so that we can actually try to mitigate the reason why the mortality is going up. And here now we can try to pay attention, why is this rate so high? But if we look here, if we have combined records, we can see it's high, but then this doesn't tell us where is the mortality happening. Is it in coop 1? Is it in coop 2? And it's the same for here. And if we make records for however many days, the same thing, we miss out on the context. Now let's look at egg production. So just from this simple data, the stock of birds, we have 988. I hope I'm right in that one. And in coop 2 we have 983. Yeah. Is that the case? Yeah, I think so. And then that means in the total, if we have combined, if you're using combined records, it's gonna be 900, no, 1971. So, and assume we started collecting eggs with our stock having that many birds. So, and assume in this day, someday, whatever day, we have 900 eggs. So that actually means in this coop we have 91% egg production, while in this coop we have 91.5. In the combined data, we find that the production rate actually goes down, because now this is doing an average, and therefore we are losing some context, because actually the individual flocks are performing a bit higher than the average is showing us. And in case there was like let's say in this group the production was maybe 800, then the percentage would be quite low. But if we were keeping our records combined, again, we would lose the context. Where is our production high and up to the expectation, and where is it falling, and where do we need to sort of investigate and maybe look what we can do to improve that. And again, the same thing happens with finances. So if, let's say, one coop is producing more eggs than the other one, then definitely from this coop we will be making more money than, let's say, from this coop, right? And that means that if we keep the records as an aggregate, as a sum of the two, we will again miss the context of which coop is performing better. We can't actually compare. And again, let's say in one coop we have had some health issues, so we have had extra health costs. So if we would keep the records for each coop separately, it would be very easy for us to track, this coop had an extra health cost, and we would know the reason in our records. But here, if we do combined records, we would have no idea which coop was affected. Of course, we would remember, but we will not have the exact context. We will not know, okay, when did this happen, which day, which month, and so on. So coming back to the question that had been asked, can you, instead of having flock records for each coop, can you keep them combined? And the answer is yes, you can combine them, but when you do that, you lose the context of each flock's performance. And when you lose that context, it becomes a bit tricky to understand the performance of each individual flock, and also to determine where you need to make some adjustments, where you need to investigate a little bit more, and what you need to improve your flock's performance.